perpetrators' motives were.
The US military has a number of major bases near Frankfurt, which are used as hubs for operations in Afghanistan and Iraq. Police have now sealed off the crime scene, and security at the airport has been increased. Sylvia Lennon, Al Jazeera.
More than 25,000 Turkish Cypriots have marched in protest at tough austerity measures. Protesters say the cuts are being forced on the small Mediterranean island by Turkey, which is the North's only international backer. The changes will see public spending slashed and will also curb the rights of trade unions. Pakistan's Taliban says it killed the federal minister for minorities in Islamabad. Shahbaz Bhatti was shot as he left his home in the capital for work. He had been calling for reforms to the country's controversial blasphemy law. To Bangladesh now, where the central bank wants world-famous microfinance banker Muhammad Yunus sacked. His supporters say the Nobel Peace Prize winner has been targeted by the government ever since he tried to get involved in politics. Charles Stratford reports.
He's known as the banker to the poor and won a Nobel Peace Prize 5 years ago. The Grameen Bank that Yunus founded has provided billions of dollars in so-called microloans for the most needy. The following allegations first aired in a Norwegian TV documentary that he was involved in tax dodges. The Central Bank of Bangladesh wants Yunus sacked. He was cleared by a subsequent Norwegian inquiry, and he continues to deny accusations. But despite that, the Bangladeshi government has launched its own inquiry. And it's not just about money. The central bank claims his age is another factor. He's 70, that's 10 years over the legal age for a managing director of a commercial bank. It adds that Yunus should have sought its approval before he was reappointed to his position at Grameen. And even the Prime Minister has joined his opponents. Sheikh Hasina has accused the Nobel laureate of treating his bank as, quote, his personal property, claiming his group was sucking the blood from the poor. All this has come as a shock to many of his supporters. They claim he's being targeted because of an attempt to set up a political party when a military-backed caretaker government was in power. But as the legal battles go on, Yunus is staying at the bank that's changed the lives of millions and made him famous around the world. Charles Stratford, Al Jazeera.
Mexican authorities have found a mass grave in the south of the country. For more, let's go back to Shihab Ratansi in our Washington, D.C. news center. Shihab?
Thanks again. Police in the state of Guerrero say the grave contains the bodies of at least 17 people. A police spokesman said that the grave was found on Tuesday in the town of San Miguel Totolapan and that more bodies could be discovered. It comes 4 months after 18 bodies were found in a mass grave near Acapulco. A video posted on YouTube at the time said the victims were tourists kidnapped a month before. 55 bodies had been found in the nearby city of Taxco 5 months before. In July, authorities unearthed 51 bodies outside Monterrey, the capital of the northeastern state of Nuevo León. The discovery was linked by authorities to drug gang violence, and in August, 72 bodies were discovered in San Fernando, a town in the state of Tamaulipas. Authorities say most of the bodies were believed to be those of undocumented migrants. The US Supreme Court has ruled in favor of protesters who picket outside military funerals. The Westboro Baptist Church organizes anti-gay protests outside military funerals. A man sued the group after they gathered at his son's funeral in 2006, and he won a $5 million settlement, but this ruling throws out that judgment. More than 100 people have protested against planned cuts to social programs in the state of New York. Police made 15 arrests at the demonstration at Albany's Capitol building on Wednesday. The protest follows the state governor's plan to make budget cuts worth $3.7 billion. Politicians in the U.S. state of Ohio have approved a bill limiting the union rights of public sector workers, paving the way for a vote in that state's Senate. Some Republicans say the measures, which propose eliminating public workers' right to collectively bargain, are aimed at reducing an $8 billion deficit. But unions and Democrats say the legislation is simply an attack on public sector workers' rights. Apple has unveiled the latest generation of its tablet computer, the iPad. Company co-founder Steve Jobs made an unexpected appearance to unveil the new device. The original iPad was seen as groundbreaking, but rivals such as Motorola, Samsung and BlackBerry are now competing with their own tablet devices. From the very latest technology to a classic, sales of vinyl albums are on the rise. In 2010, they grew at a faster rate than digital music downloads, according to recent findings. At last, a heartwarming story. That's all from here in Washington. Let's return to Imran in Doha.
Thanks, Shihab. Plenty more to come this news hour, including an upset at the Cricket World Cup as Ireland and England clash. Guess who won? And the show must go on. Dior will take part in Paris Fashion Week without designer John Galliano. He's to stand trial over alleged racist taunts. More on that in just a moment.
Anti-government protesters remain defiant on the streets of Egypt for a second week, their voice getting louder. Their demands remain unchanged.
This is a revolution in making.
As the Mubarak regime struggles to survive, Al Jazeera brings you a day-by-day account of the popular uprising on the streets of Egypt, from those that witnessed them firsthand.
And watching this happen.
Standoff on the Nile, at this time on Al Jazeera.
Back now with all the sports news. Here's Guy.
Let's start with the latest from the Cricket World Cup, where Ireland beat England in Bangalore in one of the sport's greatest upsets. Ireland produced the highest ever World Cup run chase to do it, with Kevin O'Brien the hero, as he scored the fastest century in the history of the event.
Few expected many difficulties for England against Ireland, especially when Andrew Strauss and Kevin Peterson got England off to a good start in Bangalore. Jonathan Trott top scored for England with a superb 92, while Ian Bell made 81 as England set Ireland a record 328 runs to win. Surely too much for an Irish team with so little experience of the big occasion. Their hopes looked even more forlorn as Graham Swan helped reduce Ireland to 111 for 5 at the halfway stage of their reply, still 217 runs short of the win. But Kevin O'Brien then set about a remarkable transformation. O'Brien, who'd never passed 50 at the World Cup before,